I'll call this meeting to order. I would like the clerk to call the roll.
Roll call. McKiernan. Mugia.
Here.
Maddox.
Here.
Kane. Markley.
Here.
Walters. Philbrook.
Here.
Walker. Townsend.
Here.
Holland.
Here. Thank you all for coming tonight. This evening, the invocation is being given by Sister Therese Bangert of Our Lady in St. Rose Catholic Church. I ask you to stand for the invocation and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
God of wisdom, we bow before you. We believe that you are with us. Help us to be with you. These leaders have so many decisions that they are constantly called upon to make, only one of them being the search for a new county administrator. And all their decisions help them to recall your word to Samuel. Not as woman man see, does God see, because they see the appearances, but the Lord looks into the heart. As we look into the heart of the human family this evening, we pray for the citizens of the Ukraine. Lift up leaders who can lead them out of the chaos and the violence. Open the hearts of our United States leaders in Congress so that they may legislate toward the common good. And bless with your spirit of wisdom the hearts of these leaders as they meet this evening. Let your face shine upon your servants and upon all the peoples of this community. Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sister. Appreciate your being here tonight. There are two distinct parts of our meeting tonight. There's the planning and zoning portion of the meeting, and that will be handled first, followed by a regular commission meeting. Before we begin the planning and zoning, I'll ask the clerk if there are any revisions to tonight's agenda.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, a blue sheet has been distributed. Under the Commissioner's agenda, we have a new item. Item number 1 is the presentation and discussion of budget follow-up items. And under the public announcements, we have 4 budget calendar reminders.
Thank you. All right, I will now ask the clerk to read the statement for planning and zoning, followed by all of the items that are on the planning and zoning consent agenda.
We would like to welcome all present to this meeting of the Unified Government Commission. Members of the commission are Mayor Mark Holland, Commissioner Hal Walker at Large District 2, Commissioner Gail Townsend, District 1, Commissioner Brian McKiernan, District 2 is unable to be here, Commissioner Ann Mugia, District 3, Commissioner Terrence Maddox, District 4, Commissioner Mike Kane, District 5, Commissioner Angela Markley, District 6, Commissioner Jim Walters, District 7, and Commissioner Jane Philbrook, District 8. As each petition is called this evening, all persons for or against will be given the opportunity to express their views. If this is the first time that a particular petition has been before this commission, the commission has 3 options. Number 1, it can approve the recommendation of the Planning Commission with 6 votes. Number 2, it can override the Planning Commission's recommendation, but it would take 8 votes to override. And number 3, it can return the matter to the Planning Commission for further consideration, together with the statement specifying the reasons for the referral back to the Planning Commission. The consent agenda is the first part of the Planning and Zoning agenda. Items on the consent agenda have received a unanimous vote of recommendation by the Planning Commission. Unless there is a request to set aside an item from the consent agenda by the applicant, a member of the public, the Unified Government Commission, or staff, then the Planning Commission's recommendation on all items on the consent agenda will be adopted by the Unified Government at one time. I will read the items listed on the items under the consent agenda, and when I have completed the list, the mayor will ask if there are any reasons to set aside any items on the consent agenda. This is your time to stand up and request that an item be set aside if you do not agree with the Planning Commission's recommendation. If an item is set aside, the matter will be discussed and voted upon separately. All items not set aside will be approved with the Planning Commission's recommendation. We appreciate the attendance of those people here this evening, and we recognize the importance of each petition. We would remind you that there are a number of items on the agenda, and we would appreciate your efforts to make your remarks as concise as possible. We ask that anyone with a cell phone to please turn them off or switch to non-audio so you will not disturb the meeting. Once the petitioners make their presentation, anyone for or against will be allowed the maximum 5 minutes to state your views. As you come to the microphone, please state your name and address for the record. The mayor and the commission are required to disclose contacts with proponents or opponents on any items on the planning and zoning agenda. I will ask if any member of the commission wish to disclose any contact with proponents or opponents on any items on the agenda.
Any disclosures tonight? Let the record show there are no disclosures.
I will now read the items on the consent agenda. Change of zone application number 13067, Alan Gaius. Change of zone from AG Agriculture District to R1 Single Family District to allow for administrative split of the property at 10118 Hutton Road, recommended for approval. Special use permit application item 1, SP 2014-8, Timothy Drummer. Special use permit for a drinking establishment with live entertainment at 4220 Leavenworth Road, recommended for approval for 2 years. Item 2, SP 2014-4-10, Ryan Parks with PQ Corporation. Special use permit for a temporary construction trailer at 1630 Kansas Avenue, recommended for approval for 2 years. Vacation application item 1, RW 2014-1, Jeff Means with BHC Roads, vacation of right-of-way at 800 South 26th Street, recommended for approval. Ordinance amended number 1, consideration of an amendment to section 2751A to allow the Kansas City, Kansas Planning Commission to assume the duties of the Board of Zoning Appeals in addition to their current duties. Although the commission members will remain the same, they will conduct separate meetings as the Board of Zoning Appeals and the Kansas City, Kansas Planning Commission for the implementation ordinance is item E6 on the agenda, recommended for approval. Miscellaneous final action on previously approved items number 1. An ordinance rezoning property at 718 through 720 North 13th Street from R1B Single Family District to R2B Two Family District. Item 2, an ordinance rezoning property at 706 North 65th Street from R1 Single Family District to R2 Two Family District. Item 3, an ordinance rezoning property at 3150 North 91st Street from AG Agriculture District to CP2 Plant General District. Item 4, an ordinance rezoning property at 5010 Leavenworth Road from C1 Limited Business District to CP0 Plant Non-Retail District. Item 5, an ordinance relating to planning and development, historic landmarks and historic districts, Chapter 27, Planning and Development, adding new Section 27152 of 2008 Code of Ordinances and Resolutions of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas. Item 6, an ordinance relating to Planning and Zoning Board of Zoning Appeals, Chapter 27, Planning and Development, amending Section 27-51 of 2008 Code of Ordinances and Resolutions of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas. Item 7, an ordinance relating to zoning narrow lot design guidelines, generally to allow for the narrow lot design guidelines in all residential zoning district, amending Sections 27, 454D3B and C of Chapter 27 of 2008 Code of Ordinance, City of Kansas City, Kansas. An ordinance vacating all of Viola Street between 3rd Street and 4th Street, Piper, a subdivision in Kansas City, Kansas, Wyandotte County, located at approximately 12126 Leavenworth Road. Number 9, an ordinance vacating right-of-way commencing at the northeast corner of northwest quarter of Section 07, Township 11 South, Range 24 East, thence north 89°, 41 minutes, 31 seconds, west along the north lines of said quarter section, a distance of 30 feet, thence 30 south degree, 14 minutes 5 seconds, east a distance of 80 feet to the northeast corner of Lot 1, Foxmore Phase 1, a subdivision of land in Wyandotte County, Kansas, and the point of beginning thence north 89 degree, 47 minutes 31 second west parallel with the north line of said quarter section and along the north line of said lot, a distance of 170 feet, thence south 77 degree, 1 minute 9 seconds west along the north lines of said lot, a distance of 123.06 feet, thence leaving north line north 00 degree, 13 minutes 6 seconds west, distance of 38.08 feet, thence 89 degree, 47 minutes 31 seconds east parallel and 70 feet south of the north line of said quarter section, a distance of 290.02 feet, thence south 00 degree, 14 minutes 5 seconds east, a distance of 10 minutes to point beginning. All utility rights will be retained, located at approximately 900 State Avenue. And item 10, an ordinance vacating the alley right-of-way between lots 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 20, 22, 23, 24, and east 4.5 of 16 lot and east 5.5 of lot 19 in Wyandotte County, a subdivision of land in Kansas City, Kansas, block 123, located at 1328 Minnesota Avenue. Those are all items on the consent agenda.
All right, does anyone in the audience or a commissioner wish to remove any item from the consent agenda? Commissioner Walker.
I believe it's E5, the Historical Planning and Landmarks Ordinance. And I would be prepared to make a motion to approve the rest if there are no other set-asides.
Let the record show there's no one else moving to a microphone and no one else interested in setting anything aside. We have set aside item number E5. The remaining items have been properly moved and seconded. Roll call.
Roll call. Mugia.
Aye.
Maddox.
Aye.
Kane. Markley. Walters. Philbrook.
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
The vote is 8-0. That motion passed.
All right, that brings us to item number 5, E5. Commissioner Walker.
I'm just interested, it would appear to be this is entirely a new ordinance. I'd like to have a little historical explanation, or why are we adopting this, and what's driving this?
Oh, thank you. Rob Richardson, Director of Planning. Commissioner Walker, this is not an entirely new landmarks ordinance. This is a new portion of the ordinance. Last year, the state of Kansas removed the review of building permits within the historic environs, 500 feet of historic landmarks and districts. At the request of the Landmarks Commission, staff prepared and moved forward an ordinance that would, in effect, allow the city of Kansas City, Kansas to continue doing those environs reviews in the areas around our historic districts and structures. And this was before you several weeks ago in the fall, and that's when the staff report and all that was prepared. I have more information if you'd like, but this is just there's a delay between the time that we run those things through with you all and we get the ordinances finally prepared to move forward, and this is one of those ordinances.
So well, none of it was highlighted or shown as being changed. Was that on the original version?
Yes, I have a copy of that.
I'm sorry, I don't remember this being up before, but
It's actually this section is the only, I believe that this is the ordinance that you have. It's labeled 13310. This is only a small section of the historic landmarks ordinance.
well, I guess what I'm getting at is the part that I have here shows nothing that has been changed or highlighted. I guess I was wondering what caused this to be brought forward whenever you first brought it forward, and whether this is state law driven or local driven. I mean, in the past, there's been problems with, if you're within a certain amount of a historic building, it complicates disposing of property that's not historical or changing property that's not historical simply because it's in proximity to a historical building, which sometimes is a good thing and sometimes it's not. And so I'm trying to get at what is new about this,
Okay.
if you can recall.
Right, yes, previously, we would have to send these to the state for the state to review, and the state generally reviewed those within 24, 48 hours. Now we do those in-house, and most commonly, they affect the sign permits. And so our staff can say, as they're reviewing the sign permit, that this has no impact on and just move it on through. If you were in a situation where the staff felt like there would be an impact on one of our historic districts or landmarks, then we would refer that to the Landmarks Commission. But unless the staff feels that it would have that type of impact, we approve the permits and move them through as part of the normal business process, and it's very fast.
Okay, thank you. My question's answered. I would move for approval if there's no other discussion.
There is a motion. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Roll call, Magia.
Aye.
Maddox. I'm sorry. Maddox.
Aye.
Kane. Markley.
Aye.
Walters. Philbrook.
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
The vote is 8-0. That motion passed.
That concludes our planning and zoning portion of tonight's meeting. We'll now move to our regular agenda. And our regular agenda consists of entirely consent agenda as well, unless someone in attendance tonight or a commissioner cares to pull something off of this agenda.
Move approval.
Let the record show I see no one moving forward to pull any item, nor a commissioner asking to do so. The motion and second are properly before us. Roll call.
Roll call, Magia.
Aye.
Maddox.
Aye.
Kane. Markley.
Aye.
Walters. Philbrook.
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
The vote is 8-0. That motion passed.
All right, that brings us to our commissioner's agenda, which you'll find on the blue sheet. And we have a presentation discussion of some budget follow-up items. I'll turn them over to Administrator Hayes for presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Holland had asked that staff have these two items prepared for dissemination to the commission tonight. They're in anticipation of your discussions on March 8th for your strategic planning session. So we have two items. First one, from the public hearing that was held here in this room on February 6th, we had about 20 people appear. We have very brief comments, just summations of what their comments were about. They are not verbatim records. They are simply for reference purpose to recall what members of the public appeared before you and what were their general statements. So that is available tonight. I would point out we're handing out paper copies. We have both of these documents available in electronic format, so you do not have to take the paper copy at this time, and everyone will receive later this evening the electronic version of both of these documents. The second document is we announced last week, as the deadline closed last week, for community and organizational funding requests. We had approximately $5 million of requests come from community and organization folks, and what we have prepared is a notebook, and it's also available electronically, but the notebook will be given to you. We can pass them around right now, or we can pass them to you at the end of the meeting, Mayor, your commission's pleasure, but these represent a summary of the proposals received, and also you actually have all of the proposals as they were submitted by the organization in the notebook. So again, it would give you opportunity to review those prior to discussion and consideration on your strategic planning date of March 8th.
I would like to go ahead and pass those out now so the commission can take a look at them and see if we have any questions about them. This is just in terms of the process we've been going through, which again, I believe is a very strong process. The commission has asked that we accelerate the public hearing portion so we could actually hear the requests. A form was established to make sure that there was a consistent application form for budget requests, and all of these have now been compiled for us to review and to look at. The desire was to get the requests in time for a more thorough consideration from the commission in our strategic planning. So on the 8th, that's a week from Saturday, we will have an opportunity to discuss this. We will have an opportunity to discuss the overall priorities of the organization. And so we will also get a presentation of the citizen survey that has been sent out and compiled. And I've not seen that survey, and that survey will be presented to all of us at one time on March 8th. So we'll have the survey, we'll have the requests. I think we'll have a lot of data in front of us at this strategic plan to really talk about which ones of these we would like the staff to consider, which ones we would like to move forward. So I'd ask folks for the next 10 days to take some time to read over these and make notes in them if there are ones that you think you'd like to see moved forward or included in the budget, or at least considered, or if you have questions about them. There might be some that you don't necessarily want any work to be done on, that they're not something we want to do at this time. But regardless, all of the requests, both from the public hearing and from the forms that are turned in, are now before you. And it's a pretty comprehensive list. I'll also direct you to the second page, the cover sheet. Behind that are the funding proposal forms. And then we have the 2014 citizen application, community application, and you can see there's 300 pages of requests totaling about $5 million. All right? So that's the, I wanted to see if there's any discussion tonight about these. I wanted to make sure you had these in your hands and plenty of time to do some review of them prior to strategic plan. There's a stunned look out there.
Well, somebody got unstunned.
All right, Commissioner Murguia.
Okay, so I just got this, so it might be in here already, or we may end up getting it, but can we be provided a list of who has received funding in past years and the dollar amounts with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that hard to do?
From last year's funding cycle? No, not at all.
I don't mean just, so when does it start becoming difficult? How many years? Can we go to 5 years, or is that too difficult?
If I may, Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Please remember, this is a new process. In the past, you've not had a funding process. Last year, we had narrowed programs that came to you at the end of the budget process. Perhaps what would be useful, Commissioner, is to pull the former yellow, you remember the term, the yellow sheet that contained all of the budget revisions? We could pull those for the past 5 years easily and have those out to the commissioners, so that would help you reflect back on what the requests were that were funded and not funded.
Okay, so that will work if it gives me this. I want to see from the last 5 years, everybody that's received CDBG funding, and how much they received. So it could be literally 2 columns in 5 sheets.
The yellow sheet will not do that, ma'am. However, there is a report filed by Community Development that will show fundings, and we can obtain that, try and keep it the simplified version. There's a reporting to the federal government that's a rather lengthy funding. I think what you're looking for is a summary format.
Yeah, just a real easy summary. Just who got funding, how much they got over the last 5 years.
We can do that, ma'am.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Commissioner Maddox.
I wanted to know we've got, it looks like 29 proposals, and I want to know exactly where the funding will come from. Is it just a CDBG pot of money, or?
That is what we're going to discuss. So what has happened in the past is we've had folks come to the public hearing and request different projects. So to give you an example, some folks presented last year, they wanted a new bus route in Rosedale. That funding came out of general fund and was through the transportation department and is overseen, and that process has been carried out and executed by the transportation department. There were other folks who came and requested specific program dollars, and some of the, depending on the program, it was depends on where it was funded. Some was CDBG money, some was general fund money. And so one of the things that we need to look at in this is this gives us time to actually think through what funding streams these requests would be eligible for. Because there's very specific programs that can be funded out of CDBG. The general fund obviously is able to fund a broader range of programs, whether it's the city general fund, the county general fund. I mean, that all depends on the program. So having this in front of us determines where the money would come from. The key that we need to do, and this is why this is very important, at the strategic plan, we're going to look at about 6 different buckets of issues that we are tasked with balancing. So we need to look at the overall fund balance that we have. We need to look at our CMIP budget. Some of these could be CMIP, capital maintenance improvement projects. We need to look at the mill levy and what we're going to do with the mill levy. We need to look at the employee compensation. We need to look at the whole range of issues that we do every budget year and decide what. There's 2 ways to do this. One, we could look through here and say this is a project that has to be done. We need to find the money. We could also say we're going to allocate X number of dollars, and then we're going to prioritize which ones will get those dollars. And it's going to be based on a matrix of how much funding we have. We could come back, if people feel like we have a lot of money, and if you do, I'd like to visit with you. But if folks feel like we have a lot of money, people could say, well, we have $5 million, let's fund all $5 million. I would be surprised by that, but that's our job, is to prioritize these, to see if there's something that has to be moved forward. If it has to be moved forward, then we task the administrator with putting that into the budget. Or we may say, this one's interesting, we need to vet it a little bit, because that's something we didn't have time to do last time either, was really to vet out the different requests. So we could direct the administrator to put some or all of these into the budget, or to do some additional information for us so we can make a better decision down the road. So that's what is going to come out of this. There is no identified funding stream for any of these $5 million in requests, and there's no guarantee that any of them will be funded. That's our job. But
And-
the public has given us their requests.
And these are gonna grow, right?
What do you mean?
If we have another date, will we be accepting them again?
Not till next year.
Okay.
Not till February. If we stay with our same budget calendar, it'll be next winter that we would be accepting new requests. So this is the way we set up this process. Is if a request did not make the February 20th deadline, I believe it's February 20th or 24th. If it did not make that deadline, it is not eligible for a request any longer. That's how we structured it. Okay? Commissioner Kane.
Thank you, Mayor. Equally as important, I think, and last year for sure, and maybe 2 years out, is those that asked for money that didn't get it, such as the Black Chamber, Randy George, a couple of the other folks that came up who really thought that they had done everything they were supposed to do and then came up empty. So I'd like to see that, because if somebody's been getting something for 4 or 5 years and it's not working, and somebody's got an idea that looks like it would work, I think we would want to take a deeper look at that. And then I also want to tell everybody here and everybody's watching TV, there's no pot of gold. So,
I will second that motion.
you know, we want to do as much as we can, but we're going to be limited by how much money we have. So because somebody asks for it or because somebody wants it, doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to get it. We want everybody's input, but at the end of the day, we're going to run out of dollars and still have a whole bunch of requests. So I think it's important that everyone knows that.
Thank you. All right. So we have our homework? One of the other sheet we can get, in addition to the yellow sheets for the last 5 years, I think we also did a little more comprehensive gathering of data for the requests last year. And I think that spreadsheet, well, that would be easy to get from last year because we actually did more documentation last spring with that. So if we can do that sheet and the yellow sheets and then CDBG listing, a summary of the CDBG dollars, I think that would cover us. And we'll see how quickly we can get that to you. Ideally, that would come before next Saturday, so you'd have some time to review it. Okay? Anything else? Commissioner Murguia.
I do have a question, Mayor. So just in regard to our process here, first of all, this is fantastic. I didn't say that. And this is really, really good, whoever worked on it. But through our budget process and reviewing these applications, when will we make a final decision about these?
I think that's up to the commission. I mean, I think the commission has set this process up, and this is our first time through it. So I think on Saturday we can discuss it, and we can either, I mean, we have a couple of options. Either we're just clicking along and we make all the decisions on Saturday. We have a lot of agenda on Saturday, so we may not, we're not going to be able to spend 3 hours just on this. It might be that on Saturday people have had a chance to read it, and then we want to suggest, we want to have a special session, like a 5 o'clock special session for 2 hours, just to go over this and give it its due. So that might be a possible outcome that the commission could direct us to do coming out of Saturday. Really, because this is the first time we've ever received these requests, and this is the first time we've done this process, I think we're still building the process as we're moving. So unless it seems very easy, I haven't read these either. So we're going to get a chance to read these. I imagine there are going to be some that will be hard decisions in terms of they're really things we need to do and we need to think about doing them. There may be others that there's not a broad consensus on in terms of wanting to move forward. So we'll have to see how it looks and then how much time this commission thinks we want to dedicate to reviewing them. Because my view is, I'll just give you my opinion, I want to have these decisions done sooner than later so that we can give the administrator direction to build a budget and not have, our goal is to eliminate those yellow sheets and not have variables going into, there's always some variable, but not having a lot of moving parts going into the summer budget session where we have given pretty clear direction well ahead of the summer session in the presentation of the budget. That's my anticipation, unless someone else, that's what I've heard from this group, unless someone else has a different idea in terms of moving forward.
No, I just was curious about the timing because what will drive my decisions will be the survey results and what the people of our county value and think is important. So that's what will judge my decisions
Sure.
on these.
Well, and in fact, we're going to see the presentation on Saturday, and we'll be able to see the survey results. And the survey results, again, we'll have some time to discuss and review those. We may say, wow, these survey results, we really need to spend a special session. But we're going to get direction out of it. A lot of it, we have a very clear path up to the 8th, and then we want to set the priorities by the 20th to give the administrator the 60 days to go and put this budget together. So the sooner we can give clear direction, the better, in my mind. So I don't want to be reviewing this book in May. I'd like to address this March, April, and have a pretty clear direction. So that's what I anticipate. Does that sound accurate to everyone? Okay. Anything else? All right, we have a couple of announcements.
Thank you, Mayor. Just much of these next 4 bullet points were included in the discussion over the past 10 minutes, so I'm not going to spend much time on it, but just reminders, next Thursday night at 6 p.m., we will have representatives from Moody's Rating Agency present in the chamber, and they will be here at the request of Commissioner Murguia to make presentation before the commission and ask questions from the commission at that time. And you wanted to have that done before you went into your strategic planning session on the 8th, which is shown as your second bullet. And then 2 more steps in the month of March include the public safety data discussion by the ICMA representative. And as I mentioned last week, we will be making the same presentation to our various public safety unions and our public safety commanders during the day before the commission sees it. So there are no recommendations, there are no conclusions, it's simply a discussion of what should the unified government take a look at in terms of data, response times, information that's available as you explore and look at the future of public safety. And finally, as the mayor just pointed out, Thursday, the 20th, is the date that you all had set in your budget calendar to provide budget priorities back to the administrator so that the administrator and budget staff could begin to build the 2015 budget. Thank you, Mayor. We do have a second item.
I will.
Mr. Bach is prepared.
1 second before we do that. The discussion for Moody's is a open session, so you'd be available by phone or video.
I'll cancel that, and because the Moody's meeting is very important and I requested it, so I'll be here.
Okay.
I'll make it happen.
Apologize for the
That's okay.
miscommunication. Didn't know.
That's fine, no problem.
So, okay, also, I'd like to announce before the last announcement, next Thursday, March 6th, is also Administrator Hayes' last commission meeting, and we have lost count of how many commission meetings he's been at, but it's more than 12 years. And so there will be a reception from 4 to 6 p.m. in the lobby here, and then at 6 p.m. or at 7 p.m. It will be his last meeting. So it'll be an event you won't want to miss. But we will want to thank him for his 38 years of service to our city on March 6th. With that, Mr. Bach has an announcement.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief Hansen just wanted to report that we're going to put a notice to our police reserves that we're going to temporarily suspend our program. Currently, our reserves are not in compliance with state certification requirements, which does raise issues of liability with them as they're doing work as our reserves. So this is a temporary suspension while they can either get certified through the state at Hutchinson, or we're putting together a program locally that they'll be able to attend as well.
Okay. Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Bach, how many reserves does this affect? It affects all of them. How many are currently in the program, please?
About 20.
About 20. Okay.
So that notice will be going out in the coming week in the effort to make sure there are no surprises. We wanted you to hear it from us first.
All right. In closing, we'd like to recognize fellow elected official Marianne Flunder is here on the Community College Board. Thank you for being here, Ms. Flunder. We are adjourned.